Now, the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund is today hosting the Boy Joy Summit in Parktown. This initiative is aimed at mobilizing boys from grades 9 and 10 across the country to be proactive participants in the fight against gender-based violence. Newzroom Afrika's Katleho Sekhotho is part of our team in Parktown ahead of the summit, and she joins us now live. And of course, Katleho, there's been so much said about the different stakeholders, if you like, when it comes to the fight against gender-based violence. And of course, a moment has to be spent honing in on the role that men and boys have to play.
Certainly, Ayanda. So we're here at the Rodin School for Girls, and the summit, the Boy Joy Summit, is in full swing. And really what it entails is a classroom full of young boys from different communities, about 26 young boys. And they were selected from 4 different provinces across the country, identified at communities where, there are high rates of violence as it relates to gender-based violence. And the fund, the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund, has really outlined its intention to hold such a summit annually in a means to address, young boys and to challenge them to think about masculinity, femininity, and different ways of identifying as it relates to gender-based violence in the fight against that scourge. And so I want to bring into the conversation Patric Solomons, who is the director at the, remind me the name, Songololo.
Molo Songololo.
Molo Songololo, okay. Patric, tell us about your involvement in this initiative.
Well, good day to all your listeners and viewers. I'm a chaperone, so I came with 4 boys from the Western Cape. And with Molo Songololo, we've just, again, re-entered into a partnership with the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund. And we hope to do some great work in terms of promoting the rights of girls, but also the rights of boys. I think often what we've seen over many years now is that boys often get left behind with regard to the gender-based violence campaigns that we have to promote sort of equality, to promote non-violence, and of course also to promote children's rights and human rights for that matter. So I'm very happy to be here. I'm a chaperone, so I hardly had any sleep. But it's very, very exciting. Boys from sort of 4 different provinces are here, from very different communities are here, and they're having a dialogue. And we have been having similar kind of stuff with our Young Men's Forum. We do believe that boys really, really need a space where they can speak with each other, with their peers, and also with their peers find solutions. We find that that actually works very, very well. But what we also try and do is to also work with boys in their communities. So with groups of boys, often we find that peer pressure is a big problem. Boys gang up on each other because the one boy is different or the other group is different. A lot of rivalry happens there. So one of the things that we try and do is to help boys navigate through the challenges that they experience in the family, amongst their friends, at school, in their community. And then, of course, also we have to provide them other levels of support as well. We have to also then make interventions with families, with the schools, with the community organizations, community members, because all of those things will have to work together. The churches, for example, the sports clubs, and everywhere. So all of those things will have to work together. So working with the boys is very, very important, but we also need to extend that work to everybody else there. When something bad happens to a child, for example, a child needs everybody to support that child. Like we work with girls, they need a lot of support, so the boys also need that. The other issue, of course, is the whole thing about perceptions and myths and all that kind of stuff that happens in our community. What we find when I work with boys is that most of their messaging that they get, that we often find very sort of like negative and misogynist, and that really works against all the basic human rights that we try to install within them. They get it from other men in the community as well as women, from their mothers, that instill certain kind of patriarchal values and messages to them. They get it from their teachers. They get it from other adults around them that reinforce these things. So we've got a big responsibility to also work with those adults so that we can make sure that the girls and boys can have the support base for them in our communities. For example, there's 2 boys here from Atlantis and Delft. Now, these are very high-risk areas, lots of violence, lots of gangsterism. So how do we then support boys in those kind of conditions, right? If you seemingly seem to be with someone who's a gangster, then you're also a gangster. If you don't want to come and do what we do, then you are not with us. So there's a lot of peer pressure, a lot of violence, and I'm very hopeful for this. Also came here to observe, to learn as well. And yes, I think there's a lot of synergy. I'm learning already in terms of how the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund is doing things. But I'm very hopeful, and I'm looking forward to a long relationship so that we can have this again, but also multiply it to different provinces, different communities, to a local level.
Thank you so much for your time, Patric. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Ayanda, you heard it there from Patric Solomons from the Molo Songololo organization, really outlining his role here as a chaperone, bringing a few young boys from the Western Cape. As mentioned, it's boys from across the country and taking part in this initiative, which aims to create a discourse and conversation around the role of men in society in dealing with gender-based violence.
It's an important facet to the story, Katleho Sekhotho. For now, thanks very much indeed, Kat.